Beer, 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 beer. Hop on brewerytours.com.au because beer.
Every business knows they need great marketing, but it's often hard to know what works and what you should be doing, let alone finding the time to do it. Abby and her team at Crisp Communications take all this hassle away, creating beautiful marketing that helps businesses put their best foot forward. They don't just deliver great results, they're also super easy to work with and practice what they preach with great communication all along the way. So if you need a new website, new branding, new brochures, or even help with your podcast, head to crispcoms.co to find out more.
It's a draw, both the teams are even. They split the points and now we're bound for home. 4 quarters played, now the race is run. No one's lost, but no one's won. It's a draw, both the teams are even. And there's nothing left to say. When the siren ends the game and the scores are both the same, only football's the winner today.
It's the Brisbane Lions fan cast in the immediate aftermath of our first draw for 2025. I say that as if there's going to be another one, and I really hope there isn't. It is JB and Patrick, thanks to the Hop On Brewery Tours and Crisp Communications. Back for another week. Still top of the ladder after the second draw that we've had to chat about here on the podcast, but I know that you're excited to hear the famous draw song, so...
Are you going to play it at the... Did we just play it at the beginning?
We did, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because I certainly played it after the game. I had it queued up and ready to go, so...
Awesome.
I was watching with my partner's mum and I had to do some serious explaining. So, but all in all, it capped off a pretty dull game. So
we were just chatting before we hit the record button. It was such a good game that they decided to show old Big Bash League highlights sort of during mid-play. That's how good the contest was in that sort of second or third quarter. It must be said, North Melbourne probably should have won that game of footy. Squandered a few set shots, like sprayed a number of set shots across the game, including Nick Larkey, who missed a few he would normally kick. They seemed hungrier. Their third quarter, they were really, really good. Their whole last half, they were really, really good. Charlie Comben was huge for them in the last quarter as well. And God, we gave away some silly free kicks and a 50-metre penalty that certainly didn't help ourselves in that last quarter. But we got a couple our way back as well. So all in all, I'm really looking forward to never having to think about this game again, Patrick.
We don't like Tasmania, do we? We didn't mind it in some of the leaner years, but on the whole, we don't like Tasmania. For the 3 people that listen to Further North, from our contingent, not his. He's got quite a listenership. I actually predicted it would be a lot closer than what you and he did.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and I said that probably. I mean, I talked about their like contest and clearance, and they were getting the numbers, but not kind of the right things. And the game lent itself to that in terms of kind of the. I mean, it's like playing. I don't know. Have you ever heard about like when international teams generally will play someone in a sport at altitude? It's like some South American team, and it'll be like Bolivia or playing whatever, and it's like they're playing in reduced oxygen, and the game's just a bit weird. It seemed like that in the first quarter, where just the ball was traveling like it had a mind of its own. It was dropping short. It was going off the side. It was holding up. It was doing some weird stuff. So Tasmania, a bit like altitude. So maybe a roof on their stadium is not a bad idea to kind of climate control, maintain that air pressure. But look, I'll ask you a question, like, because with these Sunday evening games, we're getting drip fed the team news in the sense that it's all coming at once and then it's retracting.
Yeah, I hate
with
Sunday
everyone
games
in there
for that reason.
Well, all it does is it just creates a mess in any kind of like public forum about who's going to play, and like the cooler heads prevail and just going, well, this is what's going to happen. I don't think most people, though, expected Darcy Gardner to turn up as the sub.
I didn't expect him to hold his spot, for sure. We went in so tall.
No.
We went in so tall. So we had Darcy Fort come in, we predicted Lohmann in, and Morris. We predicted if they were all fit, they would be in, but I didn't think that Connor McKenna would get dropped, and we probably assumed he would go to sub and Darcy Gardner would be the one to come out. So there was a bit of a strange thing there, and obviously we had Payne, Andrews, Hipwood, Fort, McInerney, and Logan Morris. That's a tall footy team we've got rolling there, and then of course it looks even taller and clunkier when Jarrod Berry gets, brained in the first quarter and we have to shuffle things around. Now, thankfully, it wasn't too bad. Sort of Jasper Fletcher played up the wing a little bit more like he's used to, and Darcy Gardner slotted in down back, but it's a tall back line, so it's sort of, I don't think it's a call Chris Fagan will be making again. I haven't seen the press conference yet because we are literally recording this not very long after the game's finished.
No, I think it'll be one that he'll want back, and I think a lot of people have sort of said we haven't used the sub very well over a long stretch of time, but we largely did get it right in the final series last year, and that was with McKenna.
Yep.
Now, I don't understand when you're like, hindsight's 50-50, and maybe I think the only logical explanation I can give for it is that they maybe thought Morris was a bit light, or there were a few that were maybe sort of struggling a bit, so they were trying to maybe see where the game was at and either pull Fort or pull Logan Morris, depending on how they were travelling. But, I mean, why would you be... I don't know that I'd be planning for that when, it can be so tenuous and you can have something. And the incident between McDonald and Berry, I don't think was quite as innocent. I was actually listening to SCN Tasmania in the first half.
Sure.
For whatever reason. So I don't know what the Fox Footy coverage is.
Yep.
Do you know what their take on it? Or
they had a bit of a chat at half time, or maybe quarter time. I can't remember. Whatever the immediate break was after. I can't remember if it happened the first, second quarter.
Quarter time would have been.
There was a bit of a discussion whether he may be facing the MRO. Largely, they all were like, it seems to be a bit of an accident, just a bit unlucky clash of heads. There was a bit of chat about he has tucked the shoulder at the last moment to maybe self-preserve. Does he have anything to answer for? Was he... Yeah. I don't think he should be cited for that. That, to me, from the get-go, just looked like a complete accident, clash of heads. They were both... didn't really look where they were going, and I couldn't believe they were discussing it.
I read it a bit different,
really,
because I think he puts body on him, and when you do that, we've seen him in the past. If it's a head clash and you put body on someone you elect to be the aggressor, you're in trouble. I think he'll do 3 weeks, and I think North Melbourne will cry innocent like they did with Archer and like they did with Curtis, but I think this one is worse than those two, personally, because I think he goes into shepherd or goes into protect. Berry is looking at the ball, and he comes across him. So I think this one's worse than it looks, personally, but maybe I've got it completely wrong because I really like Jarrod Berry, and, on Mother's Day, not a great day for him.
Yeah, so, I get all that, but I do disagree with you. It looked completely innocent to me. I can't fathom a reason why that he would smack his head into there. Well,
the thing is, I think that I don't think that he meant to headbutt him to concuss him, but he went to put body on. And the thing is, when you do that and you have a clash of heads and that causes a concussion, that has been proven to result in suspension. So I hardly recognize McDonald because he's like got the thickest beard of all time. It's so dense, and he just didn't have it. Yeah. So, so we can disagree on that, but I guess.
Well, just quickly, let's go. Let's sidebar. Did you see the Zach Merritt on Blakey incident?
Yes.
Thoughts? Weeks or no?
What happened? Did he get cited?
I haven't seen yet. I don't believe anything's come from it yet.
Was Blakey out of the game?
That I don't know.
Let me just check real quick, because if Blakey goes out, I think that flying arm is happening more often. and I think I've just clicked on the Bulldogs and the Suns because I saw a red thing. I think if the player goes out, like the flailing arm thing is just a bit. Yeah, he was out with concussion.
Yeah, he got the. I mean, he did get the ball first. It reminded me of Rory Lobb on Mason Cox, like complete footy act, going for the ball, unlucky.
Yeah, well, if he gets the ball, I don't think he's got a case to answer for. But if he misses the ball, then you're in a Brian Myers.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, it's Connor Nash here. Situation where you're writing a text message trying to get out of an MRO thing. I think the flying arms is... It's funny because all of these things are symptomatic of not talking about the main issue. So the thing is they don't want people... It's poor technique that leads to people not tucking their shoulder and protecting themselves, which means that people are not willing to go in with a hip and shoulder like maybe Merritt might have done in another time of the game, where that arguably could have been safer. But instead he's leaving an arm out and he's collecting a guy in the head because he doesn't want to kind of two bodies to go together. So there's a lot of these weird offshoot issues that are now happening in the game, like the pushing into marking contests, that are now there because people don't know proper technique into how to protect themselves going into a football contest. So I know that there are obviously exceptions, and then the Merritt and Blakey one might be a bit different because they're coming from opposite directions. But not every player has to go back with the flight of the ball. Not every player has to, whatever. So if he gets the ball, no. If he didn't, I think you're looking at more of the Sydney guy from the week before.
Okay.
Melican.
Yeah, sure. Fair enough. All right, well, let's get back to our game. It started quick. Levi Ashcroft with a goal from his ring, and then, 10 seconds later, we've got a set shot with Hipwood on the 50, and you think to yourself, all right, well, this is shaping up to be a pretty good day out for the Lions. That was basically
and then the ball
stopped.
hit the ground.
Yes. Then the ball hit the ground, and North were fantastic in the contest. It must be said, very much like we were last week against the Suns. They really took it to us across the whole day. I thought first half players like Colby McKercher were really good, really instrumental in getting their ball movement going. Harry Sheasel probably wasn't one of his better games. I would have thought he was fairly quiet. Their key defenders, like I said, Charlie Comben had a good game. Toby Pink had a really good game. But yeah, they just hammered us in the middle. George Wardlaw, we both love George Wardlaw, and he had a fantastic game. Parker was good. Dersma had his moments, but LDU and Wardlaw were, the flag bearers for them.
They were pretty instrumental. I actually, my brother mentioned him last week in Germany, was watching live and said, is there a guy on their team called Warlord? And I'm like, kind of. He's George Wardlaw. And he's like, what's his thing? I'm like, I don't know. People just kind of like his sort of shtick, He's wears black boots. He's no fuss. He's hard at the ball.
Looks like a beetle.
Yeah, he's the most looks like a beetle instead of James Tunstall's old haircut. But Andrew said he looks like a fifth-year Hogwarts student. So I don't know.
Sure,
that made sense to me. But
that's one for the Harry Potter heads.
Yeah, or he looks like a new recruit of the Night's Watch, if that's more your stretch. If you're more of a Game of Thrones,
makes a little bit more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but his ability to get up off the ground in contest was quite impressive. And LDU, I kind of feel like LDU will wind up being a bit of a trivia question of who's the greatest player that no one ever remembers. And it'll be, unfortunately, him, I think. So, and that's probably a harsh thing to say, but over a big stretch of years, he's been an elite player, but he's so faceless. He kind of reminds me of some of the GWS blokes from yesteryear. So,
yeah,
they killed us in the midfield, and it's a weird one because I think sometimes, and I mentioned this in the first quarter, I said, sometimes Lachie Neale he looks a bit heavy on his feet in some games.
Yep.
And I'm like, I think today will be one of those games early in the first quarter because he just didn't look free on his feet. And he didn't have a great game. He had a couple of really good moments. Overhead mark against Wardlaw was a great moment in the last quarter. But on the whole, it was a pretty good start. And then they kind of, contest and clearance, and they got field tilt pretty good. We got absolutely bashed up in contested possession and clearance in a way that we haven't very often. So
Third game against a bottom 4 team this year so far, West Coast, Richmond, and now North. Bit of a habit that we may not be taking these teams as seriously as we should, do you think?
I think there's probably something in that. We've never really been... I mean, we have belted teams, but we tend to kind of quite often belt good teams.
Yeah, so last year was the Dogs and Port were the big wins.
St Kilda as well towards the end of the year when they were on a good run of form. St Kilda were.
Yeah, that's right. So. But yeah, it's just sort of these are the games where you should be making up percentage, and we simply haven't. Obviously.
Oh, let me stop you there. We've arguably made up percentage in the most strange of ways by alleviating ourselves from the calculation, where we're a game in between, so we now don't have to worry about percentage.
It's true. We're half a game clear on top of the ladder now, which is it's obviously annoying. It's obviously annoying.
Yeah, but would you rather be half a game clear or second on percentage?
Yeah, no, you're probably right there. It is. It's strange, isn't it? It is strange the way we've approached these games, and I'm kind of glad this happened in a way, because we've got Melbourne next week, which, from all intents and purposes, they were bottom 4 last year. It will probably finish bottom 6, bottom 8 this year. Haven't really played many great games so far. I fully expect this team to get a rocket throughout the week, and that midfield is going to want to fire against Petrarca, Viney, Oliver, Max Gawn, because Sherry was huge today. We knew he was going to be huge. He's one of the best ruckmen in the comp, and he certainly showed it today. So Oscar and maybe Darcy Ford are going to have their work cut out for them again next week. Darcy Ford actually won more hit-outs than Oscar today. So
I think I was making note to mention that I thought Ford had handled Cherry better than and then I think Fort gave away one in the ruck late on in the game, and it didn't really look good on either of them. But Cherry gave them largely first use, and it's not often. I mean, we've seen it twice in 3 weeks now, but it's not often that a lot of our mids are down on numbers or on disposal or clearance or things like that. But I think just regarding our performance against the bottom teams, you kind of look at it and go, well, we have to almost assume that virtually every team is going to be trying to lift that 10% when they play us. I can guarantee fucking Fremantle are going to do it when they play us. Those flaky purple guys. But every team virtually is going to raise that 10%. And if we drop off our 10%, it's fine margins in sport in general, professional sport in general, and particularly in this. It's very fine margins between, like Richmond beat Gold Coast. No one gave them a chance. And we belted Gold Coast and, whatever. Neither here nor there. But I just think that we need to be wary of that. We need to almost plan.
Yeah. And Dane Zorko, I don't know if you have caught this one. Dane Zorko was on Dylan Friends, the Dylan Friends podcast, a couple of weeks ago. Interesting listen, and he spoke about his entire career, but spent a lot of time speaking about like the early stages, 2012, 2013, 2014. And one of the things he said is, whenever we came up against the reigning premiers, that's the game they lifted for, and you really wanted to show that you could, match it with the best. So it wouldn't surprise me if, what you're saying there is true, and people are trying to lift to take it up to the reigning premiers, and North certainly did today. Like, North were really good and deserved to win this match. It must be said they were hungrier, and as I said, they sprayed some set shots on goal and they really sprayed them as well. Culliver out on the falls. Hippie had a chance at the end. Zerha, his last shot on goal, he really rushed that. Like, I don't think he realised he had 2 minutes left on the clock. He just, went back, and it's like, I don't want to have time to think about it and stress myself out about it. I'm just going to start doing it. But in doing that, he really rushed it. So, yeah, that was a strange move, and maybe no one got over to him and said, you've got plenty of time, take the full 30 here. So, yeah.
He's a weird guy, Zerha. Didn't mind the long sleeves. Just worth noting, we have had a draw against North Melbourne in the past, 2003.
Sure.
Michael Voss kicked a point on the siren. So, in play, not set shot. Somehow I remember that sort of stuff, and I forget very rudimentary things like how to live and general behavioural things. So that's good to know. But yeah, it was a hard watch.
I thought it was.
I think
Cam Rayner's best game so far for 2025.
Yeah, that was a bit of a silver lining, you got to say.
Yeah, I thought Charlie was all right across the day as well. Did a few nice things. I don't know why we sort of looked for him in a couple of one-on-ones in the last quarter against Charlie Comben.
At the end, when he was playing on Comben, what's you doing?
That was a strange
very
call.
Strange. Particularly when it's sort of, I've waxed lyrical, particularly after the Bulldogs game, about the foot skills and the hand skills of our team and our players, and the idea that a lot of the time you're sort of like, well, you're happy with more or less anybody to have the ball in hand, and we just kind of panicked at the end. Yeah,
we did. You could tell the panic.
We really should have been trying to look in corridor and then try to isolate up top, because it wasn't happening. I think Payne had quite a good most of the game.
He was his first half was impeccable, and then Larky got off the chain in that third quarter a bit, kicked 1 goal 2. It should have been at least 2 goals 1. But yeah, Payne was really, really good, and that spoil at the very end of the match was emblematic of that as well. He was amazing. Harris had a largely good game as well. That 50-metre penalty is something I don't think we'll ever see again from Harris Andrews.
How's about this? So have you noticed a 50-metre penalty given for dissent this year, aside from the one against Zorko and the one against Harris? Because I haven't.
I mean, I'm sure it's happened. There was so many of them in Sydney Essendon. There was so many 50-metre penalties. Right, okay.
Yeah. Well, I didn't watch that one because I, didn't want to stab my eyes out too much. But, I haven't seen any, and I've watched probably a lot more football than I usually do in terms of, Thursday night games, they're there. Friday night games, they're there. Watching heaps of football. So I haven't seen one. I'm not saying they haven't happened, but I haven't seen any, and we've had 2. And the whole rhetoric has been that the dissent thing is gone, and that doesn't exist anymore. Well, it does if you're Zorko and Harris Andrews. So I think Logan Morris got a little bit unlucky at the end. I think that was a mark for all to see. But not going to complain about umpires. It is what it is, and you got to deal with it. So
especially when Eric Hipwood got away with a pretty obvious deliberate out of bounds.
Yeah, I think he was trying to tap it to a voice that he heard behind him, which, has he got schizophrenia? Who knows? So.
A voice from the crowd. He's tunnel balled it straight over the line. Look, yeah, it didn't come down to that. There was a lot of things going. Good to see Kai Lohmann get through the game. I mean, obviously wasn't his best.
It's a low bar, man. It's a low bar.
I mean, and you know what? He'll be thinking the same thing as, thank God I just got through the game. Did a couple of good things, but yeah, he got through the game. Cal Archie could not buy a mark tonight. He was matched up pretty well, I thought. So he still ended up with a goal. Did okay, but yeah.
He was playing largely on Comden, wasn't he? I think he was trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it seemed weird at the end that Comden ended up on Charlie, and you're like, well, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But I think he was largely doing a pretty good job, and then it didn't quite work in the last quarter. The sort of structure broke down. I mean, for anyone wondering, I think not having Berry on the field really highlights how important he is for our sort of structure and system and willingness to run. He makes up a lot of ground over leg speed, and he does a very, very good job for the team. So I think if anyone is on the fence about what he does, I personally don't think that if he doesn't go out of that game, we don't lose. I think he's good for a two-goal swing either way as a player, defensively or in an attacking sense. So that's my thoughts on Jarrod Berry.
Yeah.
We all know that I like him a lot. So odd question. Is there a direct flight from Brisbane to Tassie?
Ooh, not something I've looked up, I must admit.
Maybe someone can give us notes, because I feel like the idea of having to potentially go on 2 flights is a bit of a pisser.
I'm sure there is. There has to be. Let's do this in real time via Webjet. So
the old reliable Webjet.
Yeah, the one that fucked me on the grand final.
Just because I feel like that's a little bit, if you are having to get a connecting flight, it's a little bit harsh, if you I mean, why are the reigning premiers playing in Tasmania? Don't really get it.
Look, I don't know. Let's go. Let's say we are going next Saturday. Search flights, please. Oh, you dog.
It's famously take like 7 minutes to like waft through, and then you end up on like Malaysian Airlines going to the Pacific or Atlantic or wherever that happened.
This is just thrilling content, is what it is. Let's click that. Yeah, you can get direct flights.
All right, well, I stand corrected then, but maybe we can just cut this whole segment out to make me not look like an idiot. That would be funny. That would be good. Yeah. Or just edit it and chop it up, make it look like rock bottom.
Although the ones I've randomly clicked on... Oh, no, there we go, yeah. A lot of them do go to Melbourne and then to Hobart.
Well, I have nothing more to say about that.
Anyway, play on. I thought Fletcher had a good game, and I thought Noah Answorth had a good game as well today. I thought those two were pretty good.
Yeah, Noah Answorth was quite good. A couple of weird moments. And Fletcher's so reliable. I'm going to make a bold prediction and say I think that Jasper Fletcher's going to break Jack Crisp's consecutive games record.
Sure.
I know that's a massive call.
Yeah.
But
well, 50 today. Like that's good little milestone for Jazzy. So 50 games. Really happy for him.
Hasn't missed one since his debut.
Yeah,
so.
And I don't think Moddy would have either, since he's come into the team. He might have, but I don't think he has. I think he's been pretty reliable in being there each and every week. Other than that, not really. Bailey had his moments. I thought Hugh was pretty good across the day. Another 10 tackles for Hugh, so he'd be right up there in terms of team tackles across the year. Eric was pretty good across the day as well. Like he's without kicking bags on bags. Like he's kicked another 3 today. Had the chance to win the game. Couple of contested marks. He's putting together a nice little 5-6 week period. Eric is.
Just trying to find out what his goal stats are so far for the year. I think it's 19 or 20. And there's just an element of curiosity because we're how many games in? 10 games in?
Yep.
Yeah. And you're looking at it going, 50 goals for a season is not bad. And that's kind of essentially how he's tracking, I would say. Particularly given
19.
His injury and form bias going into it. So I think if you can eke 55 goals out of Eric Hipwood in a season, that's a really good season, in my opinion. He's tracking that way. So
he's also had 1 clearance.
Would that have been like a ruck thing?
Yeah, I'd have to think so. Because he's had 3 hitouts this year as well. So no, since that Dogs game, he's put together, like I said, a nice little 5-6 week period of footy. Even that game against Collingwood, where everyone was pissed, I thought Eric was probably one of our okay players on the night. So he's doing well. Yeah,
I think on the whole, we're sort of just treading water a little bit. You'd love to be. I think we should have won the game, but we also should have lost it, if that makes any kind of modicum of sense.
Well, that's why we got a draw.
Yeah.
The appropriate result in the end, yeah.
So, but I think that North Melbourne should have won it, just given the amount of control they had. But we should have won it, given what we are as a club. So, we spoke to Josh on Further North about our teams are in very different places. But I'll take you back to 2017. I think late on in that season, we played the Bulldogs up in Brisbane, and we went down by, I want to say, 10 points or 8 points or something like that. And that was sort of the first time losing a game kind of hurt, and Bulldogs were the defending or reigning premiers. So it does happen. You were talking before about Zorko saying we want to lift against the reigning premiers. I recall that one. I think Josh Shackey kicked a point after the siren. And that one was like, ugh, that sucks. We should have won that game. We were better than them. So, you can lift like that. So, Anyway, on to happier things.
All right.
Is there anything happy?
Well, let's just do some votes. I reckon that'll make us somewhat happy. Thanks to hoponbrewtours.com.au. It is time for some votes. For me, 3 goes to Josh Dunkley, 2 goes to Zorko, and 1 goes to Rayner for me.
That's pretty cool. I don't know who to give my 3 for, but I'm giving Jasper's getting 1.
Yep.
Rayner's getting 2. Draw straws. Can I give 1 vote as my 3 votes split up in ones?
No.
No. Okay. Well, I'm just going to give McCluggage votes because I haven't given him really any votes this year, and he's been probably our best player.
Sure. And
over the course of the season.
You are famously just neglecting to give Zorko any votes again in 2025. That's fine, man.
Yeah, that's fine.
Someone's got to do it. You didn't feel that Dunkley was worth a vote either.
That's not really relevant here. I just sort of panicked and gave votes to people that I recalled doing stuff in the game.
Sure. Okay, fair enough. I thought Dunkley was our best on across the whole game. Never stopped trying, and especially when the midfield was getting their pants pulled down, I thought Dunkley was the one that could probably hold his head high at the end of the game and say that he really dug in across the whole night. I thought the Ashcrofts were okay.
Actually, yeah, can we swap McCluggage to Dunkley? Because I just realised that McCluggage is rocking a real low efficiency, and it's I normally need to watch the game again. Yeah, I'm flippant, flip-flopping about. So, look, I normally have more time to think about this. So this is basically me doing a preemptive to the wheel, where you see my brain working in real time, and it's no good. So, I mean, the Ashcrofts were pretty good in the first half, but they were pretty shite in the second half. So
yep, but I mean, they weren't alone there. I mean, North really, really lifted in that second half. So it must be said that played a big factor in all of it. But
do you reckon Clarko got the electric guitar out at half time? Went the electric this time rather than the acoustic?
Ooh, maybe.
Give him a rev up. Started shredding.
There's every chance.
Do you reckon?
No, I don't.
Yeah. He pulled out the sweet picking guitar solos. So everyone's like, what's he doing? But no, I think North deserved to win the game and didn't. So, and there have been plenty of times where other teams have deserved to win the game and haven't this year. So we are not dancing on thin ice. We are walking on thin ice, and we are walking a very thin tightrope right at the moment. And hopefully we get a bit of a wake-up call that we needed. So
I think we definitely will.
The Brisbane Lions Fancast is proud to announce we have our first run of T-shirts available for you to buy. The website to check that one out is ours, brisbanelionsfancast.com.au, and you can see the link right there. It should be towards the top of the page. We've got 6 shirts at the moment. We are going to be looking to expand that range over the next couple of months, and we are certainly welcome to feedback and suggestions of things that you do want to see, and we can hopefully make that happen for you. But for now, 6 shirts available for you, brisbanelionsfancast.com.au. We would appreciate any support in what you may be able to afford and help keep the show running and rep our merch as well, because it's our first time doing this and we're very excited about the prospect of seeing these shirts in and around the Gabba and out in the streets. So brisbanelionsfancast.com.au. Get your hands on some Brisbane Lions Fancast merch.
Let's have a chat about some potential changes for next week against the D's, which will be back at the Gabba Sunday 3:20 off the top of my head. That could be wrong, but I think
sounds about right.
3:20 sounds about right. Obviously, Berry goes out with concussion protocols. Who comes in? It's a tough one because there's a number of players that you could probably pick from. James Tunstall has sort of been thereabouts in the team, plays a similar role on the wing, obviously not to nearly the same calibre. Reece Torrent has been really, really good in the twos, probably all year, playing a lot of inside and outside. Dev Robb is an option to run along the wing, but how much do we see him moving forward? So for me, it's between those 3. And I think Tunst will probably, or Connor McKenna is the other one that can come in and you shuffle people around. Sort of Fletcher goes back to the wing, Connor plays down back, but leaves the defensive side of that back six a little thin.
I had a question. Did Coleman play VFL this week?
He did. Did not back up his performance from last week, which is not unsurprising. You know, the first game back, he's had so much time to think about it, wants to go out and fire, and then he's got to recover from a game of footy. Suddenly he comes back out, he's slower, he's sore. Didn't have a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. 15 touches, 0 goals, 1, 7 kicks, 8 handballs, 4 marks, couple of tackles. It wasn't near...
Reads like a normal game of football.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, definitely. Luke Beacon backed his performance up, though, big time, and led all comers with 31 touches, 26 kicks, couple of clearances, 9 marks as well. He had a huge game.
So my thought is I think Coleman will come in and Jasper will play up on a wing.
Sure.
I think that'll happen. I think Darcy Gardner should come out of the team as a sub, and we should be putting McKenna there.
Yeah. I think something like that will happen. I think it'll be McKenna or Tunstall.
Yeah. Hopefully McKenna, but we'll wait and see. And I just think, the forward line didn't look particularly fantastic, although they kind of almost were playing a 5 up top quite often without or Fort really being in there. It was sort of, they were leaving a big gulf and could work, but...
more often than not, I saw Darcy Fort in the back six.
Yeah, it almost seems like they're really using that ruckman to drop back in and be that extra, but it just... I don't think that either McInerney or Fort kind of have the craft to be the extra, the extra tall. So it's kind of... It did highlight probably how well I think Day could kind of fit that role structurally a little bit. I feel strange, but I feel like we kind of missed having him running around. And our balance wasn't there. So I'd be inclined to kind of go a little bit not Darcy Gardner as the sub, because that helps in one way. And get another runner on the bench. McKenna does a really good job. And I think Coleman will come in and Jasper will play on the wing. Yeah,
you could be right. You could very well be right.
They've got the perfect opportunity to do it, because we've been wondering how we're going to cram him into the back line. And what that probably means is you've got one of either Moddy or Kitty playing a little bit more of a true defender's role. So we'll see. But I think that would be an easy solution to a difficult problem, which... everyone always looks for.
Yeah, I mean, sure, why not? Maybe it is simply that easy. The surprising news is that Tom Doedee, after putting together 4, maybe 5 weeks in the VFL and looking really, really good, and, the thought last week is like, oh, how are we going to get him into the team? He's clearly ready to play AFL, and then suddenly he's not playing AFL or VFL. Like, I was surprised when I didn't even see him named as emergency when the Thursday night teams came out in the extended squad, and he wasn't in that, and then wasn't named as emergency when the finalised teams came out. Then he's managed for the VFL, so probably not a bad thing. Coming back from 2 years not playing footy and 3 knee recos to manage his workload, but piss poor timing at the same time.
Yeah, well, as I said last week, I think maybe a lot of the rumblings about how you're going to fit him into the team are not by him, because we heard from the coach that when he's ready, we're waiting for him to kind of give the okay.
So do you reckon Tom Doedee said, I need a week off? Or do you reckon that was from the up above?
Well, you're kind of strawmanning me here. I don't think that he said that he wants a week off. I would say that he probably hasn't said that he's ready to play first team football yet. So they're two slightly different, different arguments. So I think, I think he was they probably looked at his load and looked at soreness or whatever. I don't know.
It's just weird to think that, he'll tell us when he's ready, but we'll tell him when he's not. That seems strange to me, in a way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do understand. Maybe it's the sort of thing where they're like, he's in the red zone, the fabled red zone, and he's been doing too many sprints or something like that. So it also maybe just couldn't be to travel.
I mean,
maybe he wanted to go to Adelaide and see his mum or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, and
is he from Adelaide?
Don't know. Don't know. Well, the Twos, they got a big win against North on the Saturday, and I completely just blanked on this game and didn't catch a second of it. So I did catch a couple of highlights. I read the post-game report and looked at the stats and all that sort of stuff. It just looks like Luke Biggin had a good day. My mate Zane Zakostelski playing a lot of ruck time, in fact, across the day and played pretty well. So that's exciting for him. 16 hitouts, 7 clearances for old ZZ.
He's adding more arrows to his quiver.
Hey, he is.
That's the expression I'm going to go with, and anyone can bite me if they think otherwise. That's good. Yeah, that's good for him. I heard that his name was immaculately pronounced, and I'm being completely sincere in saying that. So, Zane Zakostelski.
Yep.
Hard to get right, but they seem to have done that. So that's largely good. How did the rest of them fare? Because
Dev
forgot.
Was good, but he's always good. Jimmy was good. Marshall is just sort of plugging along at the moment. We had 3 debutants in the VFL team. I think a lot of them were academy kids, and one of them, Jake Fazeldine. He was really good. Kicked 3 goals up forward. Ty Gallup, 1 goal 3, and he kicked 1 goal 2 in the space of like 5 minutes or something. So a lot of people were calling for him to get the opportunity this week with all the changes that we were making. I still think he's just a little bit away. And as I said on the show last week, like he has some really good weeks, but equally he has some weeks where he doesn't really affect the score sheet or stats at all. But he's playing some ruck time as well, so it does show me that they are getting him to play backup ruck. So he's another option moving forward because Henry Smith cannot catch a break.
Correct, unless it's a stress break of his foot.
Yeah.
But I think when you've got a game like this, kind of typified pretty well. When Logan Morris, things weren't going well for him, and he was pretty much a non-factor in the game. He was still going for contests, but it just wasn't really happening. And if you have that as your second option, Hipwood, which people would argue is flaky of his own accord, and then you have Ty Gallup, who's completely unproven, you're kind of playing with fire a little bit there. And I think probably the motivation was to go out and try and tag team style Cherry, and it just didn't work because you can't move that guy. He's just a man mountain, and they couldn't do it, and it didn't work. So yeah, you kind of can't really argue with a lot of that sometimes. But yeah, Ty Gallup a bit raw, and I think having 2 quite young key forwards is never. I mean, we saw that for years with any combination of Hamelman, Hipwood, and Freeman, and McStay and Hipwood, and
Close and Shacky
and like any combination of multiple young key forwards. It's not fun.
No, you're right.
And oftentimes it doesn't work very well. So, unfortunately, I think the boringness will kind of come to the fore. But it's good that they're practicing in the twos, I can tell you that.
All right, well, what we should do now, we won't go to the wheel. We will go to our footy tipping for the week, shall we? And
we got him there, do we?
Yeah.
Look at you. You got blonde hair in that photo. Wowee.
I do. So I finished with 6. I missed out on... I did tip the Dogs. I thought the Dogs were on a tear. I backed in Sydney, and I thought Geelong would beat the Giants as well. So I missed out on those 3, and obviously we get the right answer for the draw there. So free point. How'd you go?
It was a bit of a fun... It was interesting because I go ahead and I look at what everyone's tipped sort of as the games are happening, and I realised that between the Geelong and the Brisbane game that no one had tipped GWS or North Melbourne, so whatever was going to be at that point in time. I got... What did I get? I can't even see. 3... I got 6 because I stupidly tipped Fremantle about 3 minutes before the game started because I thought there's no way with Collingwood missing all of these key players, having to travel for the only time in the year virtually, that Fremantle are going to bone this one up.
Yep.
They boned it up so hard.
Literally got a message from Corey on our Instagram that says, "Don't ever change your bloody tips. I tipped GWS and then changed to Geelong just before the bounce." So he got done on the old last minute change too.
In fairness, not a last minute change, but I did change to Adelaide because cooler has prevailed, and I nearly changed to Port Adelaide before the bounce because I was like, "Oh, they got the prison bars out. It's going to be all in. Like they're going to be smashing it."
Good game, showdown. Actually, both
it was great.
Saturday night, both games were awesome.
But how's about that they have conflicting schedule for the two probably... Well, I mean, today was very tight, but the two best games... and you have to sit through watching...
the staggered start, though, so it was sort of one started half an hour after the other, so you could sort of go quarter...
No, I'm not hearing that. Your TV politics way of looking at it is not adding up to me because I don't need to watch Melbourne Hawthorn.
No, I get
Show me anything else at that point. Mix it around. Don't have two what are going to be good games on at the same time. Insane.
All right, well, let's have
I did listen, actually, because I had people saying they didn't like, obviously I'm not a fan of Dwayne Russell. So didn't like Dwayne on comms for the showdown. And I was listening to SEN South Australia, and it was fantastic.
Sure.
They were absolutely mad for it. I have no idea who was on comms, but it was great.
Yeah, well, Dwayne's a big Port man. Always has been. Can't stand him. Especially when Charlie Dixon's playing. I'm so glad Charlie Dixon has retired because Dwayne Russell just goes off his head for Charlie Dixon. And this is also the second time he's pulled out that bullshit rank and file thing. Stop it.
Yeah, but he's doing it with more players. Like I heard that there was a like Finn Circles, and he now has like Mana tackled someone and he said manner of whatever. Like, it's just like, stop with the puns. They are awful.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
There was only one Dennis Committee. He's gone now.
Hey?
There was only one Dennis Committee. Leave it for him.
Yeah, but, I mean, Dua Lipa? Like, do we need this in the game? Answer is categorically no. So anytime Dwayne's on is basically an immediate look for other commentary, in my opinion.
All right, well, let's have a look to round 10 for our tipping. Gold Coast and Hawthorn Thursday night. Still in Darwin, which means I'm tipping the Suns because I tipped they haven't lost. As far as I know, they haven't lost in Darwin. I thought they were going to get done by the Dogs, and they still won, so I'm backing them in.
Are you going to back them in by like 140 points?
I'm going to back them in by 20 points.
I'm going to go...
I don't think it's going to be that big, actually. I'm going to slide that down to 14.
I can't get to 45, so I've gone 46 points.
Suns by 46. Sure.
Well, think about what they did to Geelong last year. They beat them by like 90 points or whatever.
Yeah, righto. Sure.
Yes. Sydney
Carlton. That's at the SCG Friday. I'm also going to go Sydney. Collingwood Adelaide is going to be an absolute belter at the MCG, and... Is it just me, or the last, 6 times these guys have played, it's, less than a goal in it? Yeah.
Maybe it's just Adelaide like playing really good teams, and they always rise to the occasion when they're playing, the Brisbane of the world or the Collingwood of the world. So, Collingwood.
It's a tough one. I really like the Crows, but Collingwood's defense is just formidable. I might change it a couple of times. Port and Geelong at Adelaide Oval. Geelong love beating Port Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval.
Do they?
They love beating Port Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval.
All right. Well, I'm a tentative Port Adelaide at this point in time.
Sure. Giants Freo at NG. I'm not tipping Freo.
Freo can go so far in the bin, and Fremantle will 100% win this game. They will 100% win the game to spite... Fremantle have become almost like the villains of... I mean, if people cared more. Yeah. And I care a lot about things that don't actually matter. That's why I'm on a football podcast. But Fremantle have single-handedly become villainous within the AFL community. They couldn't even do the job on Collingwood. Yeah. Just... Every opportunity, sorry. Anyway.
All right.
Doggies.
Doggies, yes, obviously. Richmond North, I've gone North. Brisbane to beat Melbourne and St Kilda to beat a West Coast. That's how I'm finishing things off.
Yes, Brisbane and St Kitts and Nevis. North Melbourne and Richmond will be a let's wait and see here. Because the thing is, I think, I don't know, they're both not very good, but it's like Richmond are winning games. They're now figuring out how to do that.
If North play like they did today, though.
Yeah, but they also probably won't.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not going to be surprised.
Tentatively go with Richmond.
Yeah, okay.
For those, if anyone's doing the gauntlet, Brooksy didn't know what it was, so he's not in it.
I'm out.
I'm still in it, and I tipped Richmond this week, so I got rid of them. So I had some stakes in that West Coast game, so that was good. Still in it, but I'm not going to tell anyone who I've done my whole season.
Sure.
I've mapped it out, so otherwise you get dusted with, like, you have to tip North Melbourne against, like, Collingwood, and you're like, oh, well, that's not good. So pre-plan, everybody.
Righto. All right, well, that means it's time for the wheel.
Completely straight face that one to stonewall anyone gets their kicks out of seeing my discomfort.
It is the wheel, thanks to Crisp Communications, chriscoms.co. If you've got a business and you need some marketing of any type, or if you've got a podcast of your own, Abby and the team at Chris Comms can certainly not just help you out, but really help you out. All right, let's go to the wheel. Now, whose turn is it?
It sounded really nefarious. It's your turn to pick or skip, because I skipped on Todd Banfield and then spent all my time saying how I liked Todd Banfield.
That's right. Ooh, Brent Staker.
Here's another one from that same era as last week. So who won last week?
It's open to the people still.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it was funny, because one thing that sticks out of my mind is saying that I'll remember more Todd Banfield games than I will Joel Patfull games. And Joel Patfull will surely have played in those 4 Todd Banfield games, I remember.
Probably.
So there's irony there for whoever looks for it.
Stakes. What do I want to do with stakes? God. Yeah, I'm going to...
Can take a punch.
I'm going to... Well, can he? I'm going to pass on stakes. I'm going to let you take stakes, and I'm probably going to regret that. Oh, no, I've got your favourite player, Jarrod Berry.
So far you've basically got your favourite player twice, and my favourite, one of my favourites, and also my childhood favourite player.
Yep.
And also Chris Johnson.
But then again, you got Justin Leppingen. He was my childhood favourite player.
Oh, no, wait. Yeah, no, I did get Justin Leppingen, didn't I? But he was also my favourite childhood player, so I guess, you know. All right, so Brett Staker, far out. He was a greasy, good-looking man. Well, the number 14, pretty good. He was part of the 2010 bid for a flag, and that died quite quickly in round 5 against Melbourne, but it looked good for the first 4 rounds, which we've talked about last week. Go to our Todd Banfield thing. He kicked a goal late on the siren from the pocket at some point in time.
Against Essendon.
Yeah, I'm thinking 2012, 13.
I think 13.
And it was like it was his first game back for like ever.
Yeah.
And he just slotted one from the boundary. I remember listening to that on the radio at work, and me and one other guy went up, loved it. And that's all I got to say about Brett Staker's time at the Lions. At West Coast, most famously known for being a punching bag to the Barry Hall, and also playing in a West Coast premiership.
Yeah.
So have you got anything to add on Brett Staker?
My memory of that game, actually, that game where he kicked the goal from, the boundary to seal it against Essendon, is it was when I first moved up from Melbourne up to Queensland, but before I sort of made my, way to Queensland, I spent a month in northern New South Wales, and I didn't have any internet, and I was in New South Wales, so the Queensland games weren't on 7 Mate. I was getting stuck with the New South Wales team's games. So I couldn't watch the game. I had to like check the scores, and I went out and bought a Telstra Wi-Fi dongle, so I could then download a torrent of the game to watch it back, and it was that Brent Staker game, and
because that would have been like in a similar time frame to the Geelong one that you went to the Gabba for, right?
Yeah, so that was one of my first games when I actually moved up to Queensland.
I also want to say I apologize if I called him Brett Staker. I've been meaning to say Brent Staker, but I don't know if I have or haven't. So sorry.
It's fine.
His name's not Jackson. It's
and the other thing
Brent.
Is like he always had sort of curly hair at West Coast, and then suddenly he moved to Brisbane and he's just got this like dead straight, chemically straightened hair, which was very strange. Then he got it cut, and then he hosted Footy Fix.
Did a bit of development stuff, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he seemed like a nice guy. I think a couple of times you like bump into him at like Yeronga and stuff. He's always like, "Hey, how you going?" And he's deceptively massive.
No, he's huge.
So
yeah,
and
a good dude. And now he's married to that chef chick.
Cool. I have no idea what you're talking about. Should I know the chef? Is it a famous? Is it?
Well, so she was on MasterChef, and now I think she's got a cooking show on ABC. Justine Schofield. Yeah.
Oh, I saw that and just assumed that it was like that other Schofield guy's sister or something. But
maybe. I don't think so though.
No, like the West Coast Schofield.
Yeah.
The one that got brained by what's his face in the Sam. Whatever. He's coaching at the Lions ladies.
Yeah,
forward coach.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, him and Sauce Merritt were big there for a while. I don't know if he's still there or if he's moved down to. I had a feeling he moved down to Sydney, but I could be wrong. Anyway,
yeah, he's good. I like Staker.
Do you like him more than Jarrod Berry though? Because
absolutely not.
We love Bez.
No, not a chance.
Yeah, okay.
You can go now. You can.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to talk or if I'm just going to, in post-production, put that speech of him after the prelim final with Mitch Cleary. I might just do that. So you're going to hear that now.
That's absolutely... No, that's not in the rules. You can't do that. I wasn't allowed to, although I didn't have Chris Johnson, I wasn't allowed to put his flying fists of Chris Johnson in the edit. A, because I don't do the editing. But B, a picture is 1,000 words. Say 1,000 words. Don't rely on pictures.
Okay, well, just remember what he said after the prelim final, that emotional interview with Mitch Cleary about, resilience and talking about his mum, and then he goes out grand final day, kicks that goal. Brilliant. The redemption after the 50-metre penalty in the 23 grand final. Ultimate glue player, Jarrod Berry.
I remember some early good games where he followed around Joel Selwood and did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
2017,
and obviously the 2022.
I think there were also times early on where I think that it was really a bit of a who's going to be the breakout, leader in the team between him and Huey. So
yeah, I
mean that's obviously their career paths have gone in slightly different directions in terms of how they play on the field, but I mean as far as epitomizing the giving yourself to the team, I don't think there's anyone else that does it as frequently. I hate it that he gets so much bloody body heat every game, and it's I think we've got a few players concussion watchers, with Starcevic, and Harris has had a few and Berry's had a few, and it's just a bit like don't like it. Stay away from their heads.
It is really strange that we just haven't heard anything about Brandon Starcevic at all over the last maybe 3 weeks. We heard it was going to take him 2 months to get back, and then we randomly...
I thought he'd been doing some contest work.
Yeah.
Training.
So the last we heard was Fags maybe 3 weeks ago. It was like, oh yeah, he's back training now, he's looking good and things are looking great. And then it's just been radio silence since. So,
the path isn't often linear. Like if you kind of look at what a lot of the things are, a lot of it is completing activities without having kind of a relapse into symptoms and things like that. So it can be a bit, you're adding more in, and if you are regressing into symptoms, you have to scale it back. So it can make for some non-linear recovery times. So We will wait and see.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but yeah.
One thing we should talk about,
no
though,
good.
no, definitely. One thing we should talk about before we have a little bit of a chat about the D's game is Logan Morris signed that contract extension, so an extra 2 years for Logan. Lovely. And next.
Do you reckon he listened to what I said?
Probably not. No, I don't think so.
Where I said that he would be a better player and sign a 2 or 3 year, and then you can get your payday later on.
Yeah, and maybe that's what he was thinking all along, and maybe he did listen to the show and thought, you know what, that's all the evidence I need. Get my manager on the phone now. Darcy Ford also signed an extra year, which is good as well.
Bit less exciting than the Darcy Fort one, but still probably necessary. I would be, I'd maybe unpopular, but I think maybe if Henry Smith hadn't been out for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Fort might not have,
maybe,
but here we are. It's just we need a little bit of contingency going into the following year, because I think Henry Smith's development will be kind of pushed back another sort of 6 months, and it might make us a little bit more aggressive in the trade period. But at the same time, the salary cap's a thing, and we've got a lot of good players. So,
yep,
happy that Logan Morris will stick around for a little bit. It was the funny timing of the Brad Johnson list, and people. Suddenly everywhere he was being touted as like, oh, he should have gone at pick 2, pick 1, all over the place in the football media scape.
As nice as it was to hear that, Logan Morris is getting some recognition, I think Brad Johnson was way off saying that he was pick number 1 in the redraft.
Well, one of the other more boffin-y type YouTube guys had him at pick 2 behind Harley Reid. So when he did a redraft. But
Sure.
At the same time, he completely missed someone that I can't remember, but should have been there entirely. So I don't know. People are doing what they're doing. So, but premierships trump lots.
They do count for so much. Clearly, they really do. All right, the D's this week at the MCG. It is 3:20 at the Gabba, and it's the D's.
Sorry, you said the D's at the MCG. It is 3:20 at the Gabba. Did you hear that insane thing you just did?
Yeah, I probably did say that. 3:20 at the Gabba, taking on the D's Sunday. This is we've spoken about this before. There's this sort of bubbling real rivalry we've got with the D's over the last few years. There's been a little bit of hate, and there's been a couple of finals in there. It has died down a little bit with the trajectory of both clubs, but there's still a certain amount of spice there.
I don't know. I reckon if you look at that game last year, there was plenty of spice in that game. Cozzy Pickett kicking them, as you would say, out of his ring.
Yeah.
Left foot snaps from 50. No, there's plenty of heat in this, and I want to crush them. Hopefully Harrison Petty will be back, and we can crush him, and we can crush Stephen May and the rest of them.
Sure. Well, Pat's out for blood.
Yeah, I am. Don't like Melbourne.
Yeah, no, I don't like Melbourne either, but not as much as I say 2 years ago, I suppose. It was those 21, 22, I think 2022, when they absolutely smacked us in both home and away games by 10 goals. And then we had them a couple of weeks later in the finals, and Oscar McInerney's out, and then the night before Joe Danaher's out, and you're like, oh my God, they're going to do it to us again. And then suddenly we just pull out this one of the great finals wins of it, Brisbane Lions history. And that was the
Thomas
day.
Fullerton in full force in that game for the Lions. So.
Jarrod Berry on Clayton Oliver, one of his best games for the club.
I would say Jarrod Berry broke Clayton Oliver. So in that, he wins the last category. He broke him. That was the end of Clayton Oliver after that game.
You're probably not wrong.
I posted in the Discord a while ago when he was kind of going off the rails, Clayton Oliver. Sergio Bob with the die Bart die tattoo.
Yeah.
And it was die Berry die, and then I did him with orange hair everywhere, and it's pretty good. I don't do that stuff often. How weird seeing Jed Adcock in the
North box, yeah.
North Melbourne. That was weird.
Yeah.
Oof. Anyway, yes, Melbourne. Don't like them. Kill them. Send them back to the demonic realm.
I mean, on paper we should win this one, but the D's haven't been playing awful footy. They stuck with Hawthorn for quite a while yesterday, so Was that yesterday or today? God, it's all blended into one.
Yesterday morning.
Yeah.
Yesterday, virtually morning.
Yeah. They stuck with Hawks for a while, and then Hawks just sort of ran out with it in the last quarter. And based on today...
they beat Fremantle, so it's like that's not...
Yeah, but then they got hammered by North. It's a strange one. They started with 0-4, 0-5. One of the... Yeah, it was...
they started 0-5.
Yeah, crazy.
And then they beat Freo. So, yeah, we should beat them. I want to beat them by a lot. Would like that.
Well, back at home will be good. No Jack Lever for them. Yeah, as you said, Harrison Petty's a watch from that concussion. Then, other than that, they've largely got a full list available. There's a couple, fringe injuries here and there, but in terms of the big names, Max Gawn will be there. Petrarca, Oliver Viney, who always plays well against us. Chandler will be up forward. Spargo, Rivers, Sparrow. And Harry Sharp will come back to the Gabba. He's been a mainstay in there, starting 23, I think. So
started as a sub early on in the season, but I think he's come into it a little bit. So they've got two virtually similar players between him and Langdon. So yeah, I mean it's a lot of familiar names, but I just think their balance is kind of all over the shop. So Tom McDonald playing further down back. Other than his touted, I'm the greatest winger of all time. Didn't quite work. Van Rooyen, they've got threats, but I just think we're better than them. So,
and I think that midfield is not going to get shown up 2 weeks in a row.
No, because they've been shown up 2 weeks out of 3.
Yeah. So
let's maybe make it, even the ledger here and go 2-2. I don't think much will change. We'll try and go in hard on Gawn, and we know Gawn rates Oscar and Fort very highly, so maybe it'll get in his head where he's like, oh shit, I got to play against these two, and I have openly said how much I rate them, so we should bring back Henry Smith on stilts to 3-3 on Max Gawn, just roll them through, but no, obviously not, but have you got any other thoughts?
Not so much. I just think, after today, I think they should hopefully get a stern talking to, and we'll be fired up for this game on Sunday, because I know that the players will be carrying a little bit of angst when it comes to Melbourne as well, because there's plenty of players still on both lists that have got long memories and hold grudges, so I know that there's going to be a fair bit of that. It'll be interesting to see if Noah Answorth behaves himself, or if he wants to pull out a couple of antics.
Well, what do you mean? He's perfectly behaving individual. So he's now a premiership player. So
certainly is.
Same amount of premierships as all of those guys that, whatever. But I want to belt them.
Well, hopefully we will. Hopefully we will.
Yeah.